Hello friends and welcome to my January wrap-up. I love doing these wrap-ups. I know they are not the most watched videos at the moment on my YouTube channel, but I seriously love reading and I love sharing my thoughts on these books. And a lot of them come from the book box subscription boxes that I unbox on this channel, so I think that is just a great combination. If you are not already following me on Instagram, then you can follow me at Leanda. You can see my TBRs each month and I post other magical photos. And then I also have Goodreads where you can read my full book reviews and of course see my ratings on the books that I read. So let's just get to the books that I read in January. If you like these kind of book reviews and book box unboxings, then don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit that bell so you never miss another video of me again. Now let's get to it. I read a total of 4 books this month, and that is because I gave myself a little 1-week break at the start of 2020. Normally I would try to read 5 books, but this time I read 4. And what's pretty funny is that all of the books came in book box subscription boxes. So when I discuss a book, I will leave a link in the info cards to the video where I unboxed it. First up is The Grizz by Kim Liggett, and this came in a shelf life crate. I can't remember which month, but I will link the, I'm pointing at the info cards. I will link the video in the info cards if you want to check that out. This is actually a signed edition. And the cover on this book is beautiful. The book has 404 pages and is classified as a young adult fiction book. The main character in this book is called Tierney James, and she is a 16-year-old girl who lives in Garner County. And in this county, they believe that the girls are emitting some kind of magic that they just have, which is an aphrodisiac for the men, and they have to go on the Grizz year as soon as they turn 16, which is literally a year away, in a little cabin in the woods with almost no resources, where they have to shed their magic and come back purified so they are ready for marriage. It is a very interesting and very dark story because there are also poachers, and these poachers try to capture the girls in the Grizz year so they can flay their skin and cut parts of their body so they can sell them on the black market because they believe that there's magic in the parts of the dead girls. Yeah, pretty creepy. I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. On Goodreads, I put it down to 4 stars. And that is because I really like the atmosphere of this book. I like the characters, that it's action-packed, that it has a great storyline. It's a really interesting concept. And I read that the author based it on the idea that when girls turn 16 or 17, like into adulthood, then women see them as competition and men see them as prey. So that's kind of the idea where she based her story on. The reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because somehow I wasn't fully emotionally invested. I'm not sure why, but when some of the characters get wounded or even die, it made me feel sad, but I didn't cry. And I think to give a book 5 stars, I have to be fully immersed in the story, and that means that I feel emotional when bad stuff happens. So that's the reason I gave it 4 instead of 5 stars. But it's definitely one of those books that makes you think back once in a while. The second book that I read is Hollybanks Full of Angst, written by Valerie. This is also a signed edition, and it came in my Once Upon a Book Club box. I think it was December. I will leave a video in the info card as well. It is a light-hearted fiction read, and it has around 361 pages. Our main character is of course Holly Banks, and she moves to the village of Prim with her daughter and her husband, and she is met by an army of perfect moms that all participate in the PTA and bake cherry pies, and Holly is trying to fit in, which she fails at miserably, which is pretty funny. And then at the end there's kind of a plot twist because there's also some shady stuff going on in the village of Prim, and they are somehow involved in that. I gave this book 3 stars. I liked it, but I didn't fall in love with it. Mainly because it is on my genre. It's a very light-hearted fiction read. It has a bit of humor though, so that made me laugh a couple of times, but the story isn't that interesting. There's not a lot of characters in there, and the writing style is a bit chaotic and sarcastic, so I had to get used to that. But once I got used to that, I enjoyed it. I also read Wicked As You Wish by Chupeco, which was really cool because this is a book that hasn't been released yet. It's going to be released in March 2020, and this is a pre-released manuscript that came in my fairy loot box. So that's pretty cool. I got to read it before a lot of other people did. And how do I explain this book? It is kind of a whirlwind of magic. I think that's the best way to explain it. The main character is called Tala, and she is from the Filipino culture. She lives in a house with a lot of other Filipino family members in somewhere in Texas or something, or Arizona, I don't know, something like that. And she meets a boy who turns out to be a prince that has to return to his kingdom, but his kingdom is encased in ice because of the Ice Queen, and basically they have to go back to that kingdom called Avalon and destroy the Ice Queen. And on the way they meet this band of merry men, I almost want to say, but a lot of fun characters, and they go on an adventure and meet a lot of magical creatures, which I thought was really fun. This is a young adult fantasy book. It has 365 pages and it has a LGBT main character, which I thought was pretty cool because I don't see that often. In the end, I gave this book 4 stars because I honestly thought this was a good fantasy read. It kind of reminded me of the fairy tales from the Brothers Grimm, but with a modern touch. The story was full of castles and knights and magical creatures and even like an evil ice queen. So yeah, I really enjoyed it and the story really sucked me in. The last book that I read in January is A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy, and this is a special edition that came in one of my fairy loot boxes. It has the sprayed black edges and it is also signed. The book has 351 pages and is based on a North African inspired fantasy world, which immediately piqued my interest. The story is about these 2 sisters, Isa and Eva, who are princesses in the country of Meyer. And Meyer has this tradition that once they become of age, one has to kill the other to become queen. That's just how it is. And Eva possesses the magic of marrow and blood, which is a really dark type of magic. And I love the fantasy world that Amanda Joy created. There are all these kinds of different types of magic and you have to tap into them to use them. So for instance, the magic of blood, you have to draw blood from your components to tap into that to use these spells. So that is pretty cool. So Eva's birthday is approaching when she's coming of age, and that means the battle between the sisters is about to go down. But she is not yet fully in control of her magic and she needs to find a teacher, and that's kind of the journey she follows until the end, where there is this final epic battle. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really refreshing and magical story. I love the dark magic parts in there. I love the epic battles that were in there, the betrayal, the romance, the political intrigues. So yeah, that was a really good part of the story. But the reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I kind of went in and out of the story. I didn't get like fully focused on it. And I also didn't really get the North African vibes, but that's maybe because I don't know enough of the culture, but I didn't really come through for me. So yeah, that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but I am really excited to see where the story goes next and to learn more about these characters. Those were the books that I read in January. If you are curious to see my TBR for February, you can check that out on my Instagram. And yeah, I am looking forward to the next reading month. I have actually already read one of the books and I am currently reading the second book in my TBR, which is The Last Letters from Juliet by Melanie Hudson, which came in my Once Upon a Book Club box. So yeah, excited for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up, and all that's left for me to say is have a magical day and let's stay in touch.